We've all been there. The moment when everything feels like it's falling apart. Plans unravel, strategies collapse, the future looks uncertain, and in that moment, one question echoes in our minds. What do I do now? Great leaders don't have fewer problems. They just approach them differently. They don't run from chaos. They move through it with clarity. They don't wait for the storm to pass. They learn how to navigate through it. Because leadership isn't about avoiding turbulence, it's about leading despite it. So how do resilient leaders turn chaos into clarity? How do they rise when everything around them is falling? Let's explore. Chaos is uncomfortable. It disrupts our plans, challenges our confidence, and throws uncertainty into everything we thought was certain. And because of that, most people fear it. They resist it. They try to avoid it at all costs. But here's the truth. Chaos is not the enemy. Chaos is not the thing that stops us. It's the thing that shapes us. Think about it. Every major breakthrough in history, whether in business, technology, or society, was born out of chaos. The greatest leaders, the most resilient innovators, the pioneers who changed the world, they didn't wait for stability. They didn't wish for a perfect environment where everything was predictable. They thrived in uncertainty. They embraced it. And because they did, they found opportunities where others only saw obstacles. The question isn't whether chaos will come. It will. The real question is, how will we respond when it does? Chaos exposes weaknesses so we can fix them. When everything is going smoothly, it's easy to assume that everything is working just fine, but when chaos strikes, it reveals the cracks in our systems, our strategies, and even our leadership. And while most people see that as a bad thing, resilient leaders recognize it as an opportunity. Because if we never see the cracks, how can we fix them? Think about a business facing a sudden crisis, maybe a supply chain disruption, a financial downturn, or a shift in market demand. In that moment, they have two choices: panic and hope things magically return to normal, or use the disruption to identify weaknesses, make adjustments, and come out stronger. The companies that adapt not only survive, they gain a competitive edge. The ones that resist change, they fall behind. Chaos forces us to ask hard questions. What's broken that we never noticed before? Where have we been too comfortable? What must change for us to be stronger than before? Weaknesses don't get fixed when things are easy. They get fixed when chaos forces us to confront them. Chaos forces innovation. Most of the world's greatest innovations weren't created in times of peace and stability. They were created in times of crisis. When NASA's Apollo 13 mission faced a life-threatening emergency in space, engineers on the ground didn't freeze in panic. They innovated under pressure. They built life-saving solutions with only the limited tools available to the astronauts. And because they embraced chaos rather than fearing it, they brought those astronauts home safely. The same principle applies to leadership. The best ideas don't come when everything is going according to plan. They come when the plan falls apart and we're forced to think differently. When chaos hits, we can either cling to old ways that no longer work, or we can adapt, experiment, and find new solutions. The leaders who do the latter aren't just surviving the chaos, they're using it to push forward. Chaos tests leadership. Anyone can lead when times are easy, but true leadership is revealed in times of uncertainty. In chaotic moments, people look to their leaders for guidance, for stability, for clarity. And here's the paradox: leaders don't need to have all the answers. They just need to provide direction. A resilient leader doesn't pretend everything is fine when it isn't. They don't panic or disappear when things get hard. Instead, they step up. They acknowledge the challenge, communicate honestly, and make decisions with confidence, even when they don't have perfect information. Because in times of chaos, people don't need perfection. They need someone willing to take responsibility. Someone willing to say, I may not have all the answers, but we're going to figure this out together. Chaos separates those who wait from those who act. When the world feels unstable, most people freeze. They wait. They hesitate. They convince themselves that the safest thing to do is nothing at all. But resilient leaders know that waiting is the riskiest move of all. Think about the companies that thrived during economic downturns, the leaders who doubled down on innovation when competitors were cutting costs, the individuals who saw a changing landscape not as a threat, but as an open field of new possibilities. The ones who saw chaos as an opportunity were the ones who emerged stronger. The ones who waited for stability never found it. Because clarity doesn't come from waiting, it comes from action. It comes from moving forward even when the path isn't clear. Chaos will always be there. The question is, will we let it break us, or will we use it to build something better? Perspective is everything. It shapes how we interpret challenges, how we respond to setbacks, and ultimately how we lead. Two people can experience the exact same situation. One feels stuck, defeated, and overwhelmed, while the other sees an opportunity, a lesson, a path forward. The difference isn't in their circumstances, it's in their mindset. The most resilient leaders don't necessarily have fewer problems than the rest of us. They aren't immune to failure, uncertainty, or adversity. What sets them apart is the way they see those challenges. Where others see obstacles, they see possibilities. Where others feel trapped, they find solutions. Our perspective determines whether we feel like victims of our circumstances or architects of our future. It dictates whether we react with fear or with purpose. And the best part, perspective is something we can choose. The same situation, two different outcomes. Imagine two leaders facing the same crisis. A major business deal falls through, a key client pulls out, and financial projections suddenly look uncertain. One leader immediately sees disaster. They panic, stress, and dwell on worst-case scenarios. They convince themselves that everything is falling apart, and as a result, they hesitate, make poor decisions, and spiral further into chaos. The other leader, facing the exact same challenge, sees it differently. They acknowledge the setback, but instead of catastrophizing, they ask, what does this make possible? Maybe this loss frees up resources to pursue a new market. Maybe it forces the company to improve its offerings. Maybe it's an opportunity to refine strategy and build something stronger. Same situation, two entirely different responses. The only difference? Perspective. The brain follows what we focus on. Our brains are wired to seek confirmation of what we already believe. If we believe a situation is hopeless, our brain will find proof to support that belief. If we believe we are stuck, we will only see roadblocks. But if we believe a challenge can be overcome, our brain will start scanning for solutions. Think about when you buy a new car and suddenly you start seeing that exact model everywhere. It's not that those cars magically appeared, it's that your mind is now focused on them. The same is true for opportunities. If you train your mind to look for possibilities, you will start noticing them. This is why resilient leaders don't dwell on why things can't work. They look for how they can. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? They ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, this is impossible, they ask, what's another way? It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing a perspective that moves you forward rather than hold you back. Perspective turns failure into growth. Failure is inevitable. No leader, no company, no innovator has ever succeeded without first failing. Sometimes, many times over. But what differentiates those who rise from those who quit is the way they interpret failure. For some, failure feels final. It's a sign they weren't good enough, that they should stop trying, that they're incapable of success. But for resilient leaders, failure is just feedback. It's a teacher. It provides information on what didn't work so they can adjust, refine, and try again with a better approach. Take Thomas Edison. He famously tested thousands of materials before finding the right filament for the light bulb. When asked how it felt to fail so many times, he didn't see it that way. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the power of perspective. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to let failure define them. They see every setback as a necessary step towards success. Perspective shifts the culture of a team. A leader's perspective doesn't just affect their own mindset, it affects everyone around them. When a leader constantly focuses on what's wrong, the entire team feels it. They start operating from a place of fear. They hesitate to take risks. They become reactive instead of proactive. But when a leader approaches challenges with curiosity and optimism, it creates a culture of resilience. The team starts to see obstacles as puzzles to be solved rather than disasters to be avoided. They become more innovative, more adaptable, more willing to push through discomfort. A leader's perspective sets the tone. If they see change as a threat, so will their team. If they see change as an opportunity, their team will too. The power of asking the right questions. The questions we ask ourselves shape our perspective. If we constantly ask, why does this always happen to me? Or what if I fail? We reinforce a victim mindset. But if we shift our questions, we shift our perspective. Instead of, why is this happening? Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if this works? Instead of, why is this so hard? Ask, how can I grow from this? The right questions reframe our thinking. They force us to stop dwelling on problems and start searching for solutions. Perspective transforms uncertainty into possibility. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. It makes us feel out of control, and as humans, we crave stability. But the reality is, uncertainty isn't going away. The world is constantly changing. Markets shift, industries evolve, unexpected crises arise. The leaders who thrive are the ones who shift their perspective, not by waiting for certainty, but by embracing uncertainty as a chance to adapt, innovate, and lead forward. A moment of uncertainty is not a moment of doom, it's a moment of opportunity. The question is, will we see it that way? Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's not an exclusive gift given to a lucky few. It's a skill, a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through consistent effort, repetition, and challenge. Too often we look at resilient leaders and assume they just have something the rest of us don't. That they're naturally tough, naturally strong, naturally unshaken by adversity. But the truth is, resilience isn't about genetics. It's about habits. It's about training. It's about building the ability to withstand challenges, adapt to setbacks, and keep moving forward, even when everything feels like it's pushing against you. No one wakes up one morning suddenly equipped with resilience. Just like no one walks into a gym for the first time and lifts the heaviest weights. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes pushing through discomfort over and over again. And the leaders who seem the most resilient, they weren't born that way, they built it. Resilience is strength built through struggle. Think about how muscles grow. When you lift weights, you're not making your muscles stronger in that exact moment. You're actually creating tiny tears in the muscle fibers. It's in the repair process, after the strain, that the muscle grows back even stronger. Resilience works the same way. It's not built in moments of comfort, it's built in moments of struggle. When things are easy, when everything is going according to plan, we're not strengthening our resilience, we're just coasting. But when we face failure and push through, when we experience setbacks and refuse to give up, that's when resilience is formed. Every challenge, every obstacle, every difficult moment is like a weight being added to the bar. The more we lift, the stronger we become. The problem is, most people avoid struggle. They fear failure. They back down when things get hard. But avoiding hardship doesn't prevent pain. It just leaves us unprepared for it. The only way to become resilient is to embrace discomfort, to lean into difficulty, and to recognize that every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger. Resilience is built in the small moments. People assume resilience is only tested in big, life-changing events. Major failures, career setbacks, personal tragedies. And while those moments do test our resilience, they're not where it's built. Resilience is developed in the small, everyday moments that no one sees. It's built in the moment you feel like quitting, but push forward anyway. It's built in the moment you doubt yourself, but take action despite the fear. It's built in the moment you fail, but choose to learn instead of walk away. The strongest leaders, the most resilient people, didn't become that way because of one major event. They became that way because of thousands of tiny decisions. The decision to show up, to try again, to keep moving forward when it would be easier to stop. Resilience isn't something you find in a crisis. It's something you build long before the crisis comes. Failure is the weight room for resilience. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the training ground for it. Too many people treat failure as a stop sign, as proof that they weren't good enough, smart enough, strong enough. But resilient leaders see failure for what it really is, a lesson, a stepping stone, a necessary part of growth. If you've never failed, you've never pushed yourself hard enough. If you've never struggled, you've never tested your limits. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's about learning how to use failure. It's about asking, what did this teach me? How can I improve? What will I do differently next time? Every setback is a rep in the gym, and every rep makes you stronger. Adversity doesn't create weakness, it reveals strength. People assume that tough times break them, that challenges wear them down. But adversity doesn't create weakness. It reveals the strength that was already inside us. Think about a marathon runner. The first few miles feel easy, but by mile 20, exhaustion sets in. That's the moment when mental resilience is tested. That's the moment where most people want to quit. But for those who push through, something incredible happens. Their body adapts, their mind shifts, and they find strength they didn't even know they had. Life is the same way. The moments that feel impossible, the moments that make us question whether we can keep going, those are the moments that define us, because when we push through them, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. Resilient leaders don't avoid adversity, they step into it. They know that every challenge they face is another opportunity to get stronger. Growth only happens outside the comfort zone. Comfort is easy, it's safe, it's familiar, but it's also the place where nothing grows. If you only ever do what's comfortable, you'll never become stronger. If you only ever stay where things feel easy, you'll never build resilience. Growth happens when we push beyond what we think we can handle, when we take on challenges that stretch us, when we put ourselves in situations that force us to adapt, to learn, to evolve. The best leaders, the most resilient people seek out these moments. They don't wait for growth to happen by accident. They chase it. They put themselves in situations that challenge them, knowing that discomfort is the price of strength. Resilience isn't about feeling ready, it's about showing up anyway. It's about taking risks, making mistakes, and trusting that each step forward is making us stronger. Resilience is a daily practice. You don't build resilience once and then have it forever. Just like muscles, it requires maintenance. If you stop training, you lose strength. If you stop challenging yourself, you stop growing. Resilient leaders don't just face one big challenge and suddenly become unshakable. They make resilience a daily practice. They wake up every morning and choose to push forward. They embrace challenges instead of avoiding them. They get back up every time they fall. And the more they do it, the stronger they become. Because resilience is not something you have, it's something you build every single day. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. It makes us question everything, our plans, our decisions, even our ability to lead. When the ground beneath us starts to shake, our natural instinct is to search for something solid, something reliable, something that reassures us that we're going to be okay. For leaders, this is the defining test. In moments of crisis, when everything feels uncertain, people don't look for someone who has all the answers. They look for someone they can trust. Trust is the foundation of stability. It's not built when times are easy, it's built when times are hard. It's in the moments of doubt, fear, and unpredictability that trust either grows or crumbles. And the leaders who understand this, who prioritize trust over control, transparency over perfection, are the ones who create stability even when the world feels anything but stable. People don't need perfection, they need honesty. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make in uncertain times is pretending they have everything figured out. They think that if they admit they don't have all the answers, people will lose confidence in them. But the opposite is true. People don't expect leaders to have a crystal ball. They don't expect them to predict the future with perfect accuracy. What they need, is honesty. When a leader stands in front of their team and says, "I don't have all the answers, but I'm committed to figuring this out with you," that creates trust. When a company is going through a crisis and leadership openly communicates what's happening, instead of hiding behind corporate jargon, that creates trust. Uncertainty doesn't destroy trust, a lack of honesty does. Leaders who try to cover up problems, sugarcoat reality, or pretend things are fine when they're not, end up losing the very stability they're trying to create. Because when people feel like they're being misled, they don't just lose trust in the information, they lose trust in the person giving it. Consistency creates stability. In unstable times, people look for something they can count on, something steady, something predictable. And the most powerful tool a leader has in these moments is consistency. Consistency in communication, consistency in decision-making, consistency in showing up every single day with the same level of integrity and commitment. When a leader is unpredictable, when their mood, their decisions, their messaging changes from day to day, it creates more instability. But when a leader remains steady, even when everything else is shifting, it gives people something to hold on to. Trust isn't just about what a leader says, it's about whether their actions match their words, whether they follow through on commitments, whether they are the same leader on the hard days as they are on the easy ones. People don't just trust leaders who make the right decisions. They trust leaders who are consistent, who show up, who do what they say they will do. In times of uncertainty, the absence of information is more dangerous than bad news. When people don't know what's happening, they start making up their own stories, they assume the worst, they let fear take over, and in that vacuum, trust erodes. Great leaders understand this. That's why they over-communicate in times of crisis. They don't wait until they have a perfect plan before speaking up. They keep people informed, even if all they can say is, "Here's what we know right now, and here's what we're working on." Transparency doesn't mean having all the answers. It means bringing people along for the journey, making them feel like they're part of the process rather than spectators in the dark. When people understand why decisions are being made, they are far more likely to trust the outcome, even if they don't like it. Trust is built before it's needed. The time to build trust isn't when a crisis hits, it's before. Trust isn't created in a single moment. It's the result of 1,000 small interactions, decisions, and behaviors over time. A leader who has built trust before uncertainty strikes doesn't have to convince people to believe in them. That belief is already there. But a leader who has ignored trust, who has prioritized short-term results over long-term relationships, will find themselves struggling to create stability when they need it most. Trust is like a bank account. Every action a leader takes, every honest conversation, every moment of integrity, every time they prioritize people over optics is a deposit. And when hard times come, leaders who have built that trust will have something to draw from. Those who haven't, they'll find their account empty. Stability isn't about control, it's about empowerment. In uncertain times, many leaders react by trying to control everything. They tighten their grip, micromanage every decision, and try to force stability by eliminating unpredictability. But the harder they try to control, the more they weaken trust. Stability doesn't come from one person holding everything together. It comes from empowering everyone to take ownership, to contribute, to be part of the solution. When leaders trust their teams, when they give them the autonomy to make decisions, to adapt, to lead in their own ways, it creates a collective sense of stability. It shifts the focus from fear to action. Instead of waiting for instructions, people take initiative. Instead of feeling powerless, they feel responsible. And when people feel trusted, they become more invested. They don't just do what they're told, they step up, they problem solve, they help create the stability that everyone is searching for. Leaders set the emotional tone. People don't just look to leaders for decisions, they look to them for emotional cues. If a leader is frantic, stressed, or panicked, that energy spreads. If a leader is composed, calm, and focused, that spreads too. This doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means modeling the mindset that others need to see, one of resilience, one of optimism, one of confidence in the future. Because the reality is, in unstable times, the most important thing a leader can offer isn't a perfect plan, it's belief. It's the reassurance that no matter what happens, they will lead with integrity, with clarity, and with the trust of those they serve. We grow up believing that success is a place we arrive at, some final point where we can stop, look around, and say, I've made it. We imagine that once we hit a certain goal, achieve a specific milestone, or reach a particular level, we'll finally feel successful. But the truth is, success isn't a finish line. It's not a singular event. It's not a destination we can park at and stay forever. Success is movement. It's growth. It's the process of constantly learning, evolving, and pushing forward. It's the journey, the struggles, the lessons, the resilience built along the way. Too often we measure success by outcomes, titles, achievements, financial milestones. But if we treat success as something external, something to be reached and completed, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Because what happens when we get there? What happens when we achieve the goal, earn the promotion, build the company? We celebrate for a moment, and then we realize that fulfillment doesn't come from the achievement itself. It comes from the pursuit. The most successful people in the world don't chase a singular goal. They chase growth. They don't focus on arriving somewhere. They focus on who they're becoming along the way. Success is built in the process, not the outcome. Every great athlete, every innovative entrepreneur, every transformational leader understands one thing. The goal is not the prize. The goal is who you become in the pursuit of it. Think about an Olympic athlete training for years just for one race. If success were only about the final moment, the medal ceremony, then the years of training, sacrifice, and discipline wouldn't matter. But ask any elite performer, and they'll tell you that the true victory isn't the medal, it's the process of becoming the kind of person who deserves to win it. The same is true in leadership, in business, in any meaningful pursuit. The real success isn't in hitting a quarterly target. It's in the discipline, the problem solving, the resilience required to get there. It's in the sleepless nights, the lessons learned, the failures overcome. If we only define success by the outcome, we rob ourselves of the true reward, the growth that happens in the process. The illusion of arriving. There's a dangerous trap that ambitious people fall into. The belief that once they reach a certain level, then they'll be happy. Once they build the company, once they make a certain amount of money, once they get the recognition, then they'll feel fulfilled. But have you ever noticed that whenever you reach a big goal, the feeling of accomplishment fades faster than you expected? What once felt like an impossible dream soon becomes just another milestone, and instead of feeling like we've made it, we set our sights on the next big thing. This is because success is not a single point in time, it's an ever-moving target. High achievers often struggle with this. They reach their goal only to feel an unexpected emptiness. They think, was this it? Was this all I was working for? And instead of feeling fulfilled, they feel lost. That's because they place their entire sense of purpose on the result instead of the journey. The most fulfilled people don't see success as a final point. They see it as an ongoing evolution. They recognize that every achievement is just a stepping stone to the next challenge, the next lesson, the next level of growth. Failure is part of the journey. If success is a journey, then failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every innovator has failed. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the absence of failure. It's the ability to keep moving forward despite it. The problem is most people see failure as a stop sign. They think that if they hit a roadblock, if they stumble, if they make a mistake, it means they weren't meant to succeed. But in reality, failure is just a part of the process. Ask any successful person about their journey, and you'll hear stories of struggle, rejection, and setbacks. You'll hear about the times they doubted themselves, the times they almost gave up. But you'll also hear about how those failures shaped them, how they learned from them, how they used them to get better. The journey of success is paved with failures. Each one is a lesson, a test, a necessary step forward. The only way to truly fail is to stop moving. Success is about the person you become. The real measure of success isn't what you achieve, it's who you become along the way. When we pursue something meaningful, whether it's building a business, leading a team, or creating something that impacts others, we are forced to grow. We become more disciplined, more resilient, more patient. We develop skills we never had. We overcome fears we once thought were impossible. And that's the real reward. The most successful people don't just chase goals, they chase growth. They understand that the pursuit itself is what matters. The moments of struggle, the lessons learned, the resilience built, that's where true success is found. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. The only question is, are we willing to embrace it? Success is not a single moment, a singular achievement, or a final destination. It is a lifelong journey of growth, learning, and resilience. It is built not in the moments of celebration, but in the struggles, the setbacks, and the relentless pursuit of something greater. Those who see success as a fixed point often find themselves disillusioned, constantly chasing the next milestone in search of lasting fulfillment. But those who embrace the journey, who recognize that every failure, every lesson, and every challenge is shaping them, find something far more valuable than any single achievement. They find purpose. They find growth. They find meaning in the process itself. The most successful people are not the ones who reach a goal and stop. They are the ones who continue to evolve, to push boundaries, and to seek new ways to contribute. They understand that true success is measured not by what they have, but by who they become along the way. So if success is not a destination, then the question is not when we will arrive, but how we will choose to travel. Will we embrace the struggles, the lessons, and the growth that come with the pursuit? Will we measure our success not by where we are, but by how far we've come? Because in the end, success is not about getting there, it's about fully engaging in the journey that gets us somewhere even better.